Welcome back again. You're still watching us here on Women World. I'm very much delighted to have joining me here in the studio to shed light on this very, very crucial topic that is of concern of every member of the Egyptian community. Dr. Sami Aziz, Professor of Child Mental Health at Ain Shams University. Thank you very much for joining me. I want to talk to you, and maybe I've asked you this question about your specialization. Is it just about mental health in general, or mental health for the disabled? And you told me it's mental health in general.
Yeah.
So we do have to admit the fact that those disabled or special needs, they are not estimated as citizens in the society.
Well, these days they are really taking their rights to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
20 years ago, they were not mentioned, as you have said before. They were, and the report said that they were even kept at home. Nobody would know anything about them. But recently, in the last few years, there has been a tremendous change in the society, and there has been a lot of raising awareness towards the rights of these people, and what they also should do, their obligations also, not only their rights, what they have to do. Because sometimes some people can take the rights, but without anything to do in front of these rights.
Mm-hmm. So you said 20 years ago the situation was very different.
Yes.
And I'm particularly targeting here the Arab world. Maybe in the Western countries they're more advanced in terms of how to integrate people with different psychological or mental backgrounds. When you said raising awareness, and that has changed and had developed. Now we're talking about different categories. We're talking about family at home.
Yes.
Giving full trust and confidence in their child and fighting for their equal right and need to stand up for themselves and integrate. We are talking about institutions being trained enough and aware of how to communicate with these people and not just think of them as, no, well, they need their own places. And the services that should be provided to take into consideration that we do have them in the society.
Yeah.
Let's talk about these three.
We should look about it in different views. For example, the role of the community. And I'll just give you something a little bit scientific. The United Nations has issued what we call the International Classification of Functioning and Disability recently. And this is with the WHO and all the UNICEF and UNESCO and all of these international organizations. In this classification, the definition of the disabled has changed. They are giving them 3 levels. The first level is the impairment. There is something wrong somewhere in some part of the body, one organ, or even a tissue. It's giving them something wrong in the anatomical structure or the function. And they said that this goes on even for the stomach, for the heart, not only for mental disability or visual or auditory impairment or physical disability. If your stomach is not working well, then you have a problem, an impairment with the stomach. This is the first category. And then they said that if I don't provide you with the sufficient or efficient drug or tool or rehabilitation, whatever, if I don't provide eyeglasses, for example, for you, and you need them, then you will have visually impairment. And this is called the second level, which is the disability, if we don't provide you with this. And if after we provide you with all the feasible things, but still this impairment is not a little bit corrected or is not rehabilitated, then this is the handicap level. In the handicap level, it doesn't have to do really with the person himself. It has to do with the society itself. If there is a wheelchair and I don't provide ramps, then the problem is not with the wheelchair, is not with the person himself, but it is with the people who did not...
And the environment that's not being considering them. And I'm very much interested to know more about the role of mental health institutions or experts like yourself in providing the psychological safe haven for these people, because feeling different, especially as a child age, and feeling unaccepted and feeling pointed towards really does cause psychological damage
Yes,
on
definitely.
an internal personal level, individual level.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even if we're talking about a community exerting its utmost effort, if you do not upgrade this small child in a stable psychological environment, it's like you're not doing much to help him.
Yeah.
What is the role that is and should be further developed by such mental health institutions to provide these services for
Well,
these
we have
children?
to provide services, very good services for the family support, because the families are the real people who support their child, and if they are suffering psychologically, then the child will also be suffering. If they are stronger and they can face, and they are supported by an extended family, by the community services, then they are strong and they can face the world with their child, and then they can fight for their child. We see many examples of very successful people before, like Taha Hussein, and now we see, for example, the first show introducer, Rahma Khalid.
Yes,
She's
I
so
was just going to
nice.
talk about that.
Yeah.
I was just talking about that. If we've, because it comes in different categories, you provide them mental health, you follow up with the families to
Yes.
ensure their psychological stability, provide for them services, and education. And then comes a stage where they feel that they still can't cross the borders, especially after graduation and they want to find work. It becomes very difficult and challenging to accept someone with disabled or special needs to actually employ them. We've seen here in Egypt that are very successful. I have not heard so far in the entire world, even the most developed countries, that do they employ people
Yes, they
disabled
do.
or special needs in very critical jobs like media, for instance. I want to talk about the Egyptian role model in this successful field.
Yeah, recently we have a lot of successes, because recently we started inclusion of the children with disabilities, and so they are developing to their utmost potential, and they are working with others, and they are not being excluded or segregated, so they can face the world, and they have to do some roles and responsibilities starting from very early age, roles and responsibilities in addition to the rights. Then they can achieve a lot of things. The inclusion project that is working with the Ministry of Education, children are now young adults who are joining universities, who are taking their chances in different feasible for their abilities colleges and studies, undergraduates and so on. They are examples for success, because we have a lot of people now like this. It isn't only one, and not only intellectually disabled, but also visually and sensory disabled and physically disabled. If we have the feasibility in certain places, for example, wheelchairs or crutches, or someone who can speak sign language and braille, as it was said now, then it is a little bit easier for these.
It is.
And efforts are now a little bit much more, and we have seen, for example, in El Fattah Al Alim, for the first time, someone speaking sign language in a mosque. It was really great.
It's only the right to be part of the society and just live a decent, fair life. You have to give them the chance. Yeah. And I'm very glad you mentioned the point of giving them the chance. I mean, seeing this very much talented young adults or children with special needs, they're very artistic. Some of them are into music, drawings, art, singing. You know, they are just breathtaking. And it's very important.
Find their points of giftedness.
Exactly. So
don't only look at the point of what's different in them, because they have some differences, but a lot of similarities.
A lot of similarities.
Yeah,
So-
and they have a lot of giftedness they can offer to the world. Look at the Paralympics.
Yes.
Paralympics, they excel there because they are given the chance to do something within their limits, even if it is less in some extent to the compared to the others, but still they can do a lot of things. For example, they brought several golden medals and hundreds of silver medals in every Paralympics that has been.
And it's also very beautiful. I mean, I've read earlier in my news even having those with disabilities or special needs being on covers of magazines.
Yeah,
Don't see that anywhere around the world. They usually take perfect models who just look perfectly, and even that becomes very stressful for normal people to fit in. So there seems to be a shift in the mentality and culture of the Egyptian society.
Hopefully,
towards
yes.
this
Hopefully,
group.
yes. Hopefully, this is happening. The only thing that is a little bit disappointing is that we don't have to have the president highlighting on something so that the people will go
Yes, this is the
after it.
thing. You have
Yeah.
to automatically understand that
That's
there
right.
are things in life and in this community that just need to take their rights and in the right correct forms and shapes, right?
Right.
Those with disability or special needs, I don't like to use the term disability, they are not all clustered into one category, and there are lots of efforts, but we need to move all together automatically, right?
Definitely.
Very delighted to have you joining me this afternoon, Dr. Sami Aziz, Professor of Child Mental Health at Ain Shams University. It's an honor having you today.
Thank you for giving me this
Thank you very
opportunity.
much.
Okay.
Interesting specialization. This brings us to the end of our edition of Women World. I'm Yasmin Biki, filling in once again for my colleague Halal Hamilawi, who would hopefully be back into her show next week. Thank you for watching.